Before we get started, I want to just go over some housekeeping introductions. So this is the Apprenticeship Illinois Lunch and Learn webinar series. Today we're hearing from Sarah Cleveland and LWIA 13 on promising practices in their area. Move on and hand it off to Nate here in a second. Let me pull up the slideshow. All right, Nate, I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks everybody for being here. This is one of our Lunch and Learn webinars, and it's one of our regional showcases. Today, we're hearing from Sarah Cleveland from Rock Island, LWIA 13. We're so excited for that. And I always like to start these sessions by doing a brief reminder on what is an apprenticeship specialist and what are the services that they provide across our state. The state's top priority is the creation of new apprenticeship programs, and that means completing all of the necessary registration paperwork on behalf of employers to create a simple and streamlined process. I always say we have the migraines so the employers don't have to. And we have some of our apprenticeship specialists on the call, nodding perhaps. Yeah. We conduct in-person and virtual outreach through events and employer consultations one-on-one. We receive and pursue the referrals received to our incredible apprenticeshipillinois.com. Check it out if you haven't already. We connect employers to our valuable intermediary partners and other applicable services through WIOA and our other title partners. And we collaborate with our integrated business service team members for a greater collective impact. And you're going to hear about all of that today from our incredible presenter, Sarah Cleveland, who I'm going to hand it over to now.
Thank you, Nate. So my name's Sarah Cleveland. I am the Business Services Manager and second-year apprenticeship specialist for LWIA 13, and we serve Rock Island, Henry, and Mercer counties. I started workforce development at the end of 2019. I was hired as a project manager for a special grant, the Innovation Project for Returning Citizens, and as executive assistant. I later became the board functions administrator, and today I'm the business services manager. About 6 months into my employment, COVID-19 completely changed my role. At that point, our executive director had me applying for and implementing disaster-related grants to aid businesses. With the shift brought on by COVID, our business services department began to revitalize after it was about a 10-year hiatus. By November of 2020, I implemented the first incumbent worker training since '09. Prior to workforce development, I was employed as a human resources assistant for a manufacturing company. And later I worked in management positions in long-term care. So if you were to ask me why workforce development is a career, I view my work as a community service. Self-sufficient wages and a strong economy positively affects our entire communities. So in our local workforce area, we are part of Economic Development Region 6. Our regional partner is LWIA 4. Our area's target industries are manufacturing, transportation, agriculture, health, professional and business services, construction, IT, self-employment, and leisure and hospitality. High impact would be manufacturing, health, professional and business services, including IT and construction. And manufacturing has the largest location quotient in our area. Can move on to the next slide. So here on this slide, the prompt was to provide your pitch. I do not have a pitch to provide, so I thought I'd provide a couple examples of outreach emails that I may compose. So the details in my outreach will depend on the entity and the background information I have on their workforce development needs. The examples above are reaching out cold with programs. And I'll always gather as much information as possible, do all my research before I send that email. So this first one, I actually read an article in the local paper, and it was a local high school, and they're introducing a new program for automotive tech and introducing the new automotive tech instructor. I had background information from other automotive dealers reaching out asking if I can assist with recruitment of master techs. So I knew that need was in this community. So that's what prompted me to send this email. I did not specifically put apprenticeship information. That was kind of my goal in sending the email. For the second email, that was a school district. I did have a working relationship. Hopefully you go back one more. Sorry. So this one, I had a working relationship with the superintendent. I did my background research. I looked into ISBE's website. I talked to Nate. I talked to the related training instruction provider. And so I gathered all of that information, and then I sent out the email to the superintendent. You can go to the next slide. So if I get that contact back, both of those two emails did result in follow-up meetings. I still have to appreciate that each business has their own set of needs, their own set of tools and capacity. So in my role, I listen. I listen to what the business needs are in terms of workforce development. And then I'm constantly thinking about all the tools in my toolbox to set up a program for them. So if the case is apprenticeship appears to be the best fit, here's some highlights that we would discuss to show them how useful apprenticeship model is. So the first one that I like to talk about is emphasizing intentional training. To me, apprenticeships are an education that organically strengthens the bond between curriculum and hands-on work. We talk about talent pipeline management and succession planning. In our more rural areas, I like to highlight how building a pipeline for local talent keeps our local talent in our small communities. We discuss competencies being a guide to achieving skills gains, the high percentage rate for employee retention, related training providers, and the flexibility of our community colleges. Program funding is, of course, a big conversation with us. So I discuss WIA, Apprenticeship Illinois, and other tax credits. At the same time, I like to discuss creating a sustainable training program independent from grant funding. As you all know, with Apprenticeship Illinois, we can assist for that first year. And beyond that, we could possibly use WIOA, incumbent worker training. But I do feel like for a successful program, it should be sustainable. Then, of course, we discuss the return on investment. I do feel like for a business to really understand the benefits of an apprenticeship program, they have to utilize the program and implement an apprenticeship model in their workforce development. And then that's when I feel like they're going to believe all of my words, as I'm talking very positively about apprenticeships. You can go to the next slide. So meaningful employer engagement, the way that I reach employers, referrals is number one. So I kind of explained in the beginning, we had in our local area a hiatus of business services, which means we're the best kept secret. I think that's probably the case throughout the state, but in our local area, businesses weren't aware of American Job Center. So referrals are definitely the best connection to a business. We are a blue collar community, so the Quad City Chamber of Commerce is a huge referral source, and so is IMEC. I prefer referrals because I get, there's that conversation that's already taken place with one of my partners on their workforce development needs, and those have been identified prior to me having that first conversation. It's also a trusted source connecting me to them, so they're definitely more open to having a conversation with me. Cold calls do happen, not nearly as often. I gave you those two examples to show that I'm not just going to call a business. I'm not likely to just call a business to get them on the phone to talk about apprenticeships. There has to be some sort of reason behind me reaching out. But they do work. Events. So our local area does conduct stakeholder events, roundtables. We participate in hiring events, open houses for businesses, things like that. I think that events are great for awareness, to get our agency known in the community. I don't find it to be the most successful at achieving one-on-one conversations about workforce development post-event, but they are definitely good ways to meet businesses. Okay, so when I look at best practices, it always goes back to this relationship with the business, which I think is just key to my work. So that's what I've kind of laid out here. But number one would be building relationships with my partners and stakeholders. I need to be able to pick up the phone or shoot an email, and they need to be able to do the same. It's helpful if I know what programs they have, just as well as them understanding what I can provide under WIA, Apprenticeship Illinois, or any other special program we have. In terms of relationship building with businesses, I always research the business. So quick Google search. I like to look at their missions, their business they're conducting. I try to look at their career page, things like that. And so I have a good understanding of who I'm going to be contacting. I listen and use fluid reasoning, which is the ability to think flexibly. And that's huge in this field because every business has different needs. Empathy. I came from the private sector, and I can appreciate what operations are and what it feels like to be in management. So I think it's important to understand we serve small, medium-sized businesses typically. And so their management team wears multiple hats. Follow up. I always will follow up if I'm meeting with the business. I send an email following up with the notes from the meeting, next steps, and then I use that to follow through. So if I say I'm going to do something, I 100% always do it. If I'm waiting on a partner, say the training provider, and it's been a week, I'll even reach out to them to let them know that it's in process. The work's in process and we'll be in touch. And then I like to lead the work. I'll set up the calendar events, starting there. And then I always send up the follow-up emails. I'm the one connecting with the community colleges, say, for related training. I'm not leaving that up to the business. Just like what Nate said, that's why I smiled, that we have the migraines. So another best practice to mention is just kind of laying out the requirements to achieve the goal, in this case, apprenticeship. So to build an apprenticeship, I like to provide the business with like a checklist, like here's the things we're going to run through, and then we run through them. I do the same thing with incumbent worker training, so they know exactly what they're going to be involved in, and they can look into their capacity to start the program. So all of you know each one of these. So we'll review the occupation and the job description. We'll identify related training instruction requirements, begin identifying related training providers. And typically businesses, like the number one is, what's this going to cost me? So we'll look at that. We'll review and edit the work process schedule. Then we get down to the wages and wage schedule and submit to the Department of Labor. There has been a time where I submitted to standards, and that's fine as well. So I threw this graph in there. So as an apprenticeship specialist, I also have to, in our local area, be aware of all the programs, right? So this just kind of shows that although my focus is apprenticeships and building apprenticeships, businesses reach out to us for all sorts of different workforce development needs. from on-the-job training to possible referrals, rapid response. So I just thought this was a neat chart to show the diversity that comes along with apprenticeship specialists. So this is the fun stuff. So here I'm going to go through some of our programs. First, we're going to look at the active registered apprenticeship programs. So the first one's a community services agency with a child care preschool center. So they did successfully register an apprenticeship program in early childhood education, with the ladder from Gateway 4 to 5, which is your associates to bachelor's. This one was pretty unique because when they came to us, they wanted to develop this program to assist their business needs, but also reach other childcare providers' business needs. So they're willing to be the sponsor. The collaboration was interesting. We worked with the Department of Labor with Meredith Thetford, and we'd get so far, and then she'd reach out to me and say, I have someone that you can talk to that's doing the program. So that was University of Illinois, Chicago. And then after that, it was early childhood workforce connectors. And that's really important because both of those entities guided us. They essentially taught us what would be needed for this apprenticeship program to be successful. If anyone's doing an early childhood education registered apprenticeship program, know that early childhood workforce connectors will do every step needed, from helping write the standards, submit the standards, write policy, figure out how you're going to collect your data, just everything you can think of. So the next one was a manufacturer in Rock Island County. This was a tool and die registered apprenticeship program. It's special because the employee size is 24. It's a very small business. Collaboration was with Eastern Iowa Community College, and they're the sponsor, which makes my work so easy. So they have 3 apprentices enrolled to date. We're currently supporting the 3rd apprentice through incumbent worker training. This company, I built such a good relationship with them that they knew to reach out to me for any workforce development issues, anything on their mind. And so I did have a referral, unfortunately, to IDES Workshare program, and I was able to refer them to the EdgeTech tax credit program. Another manufacturer with a facility size of 126 did both maintenance mechanic and tool and die. And again, it was Eastern Iowa Community College as the sponsor. So that was pretty smooth sailing. So this program, again, was a preschool. And this stemmed from my relationship with the University of Illinois, Chicago. And they had actually reached out to talk to me about incumbent worker training to support their active apprentices. And I gave that information. So then she pulled in the executive director, and we're talking about incumbent worker training. And she voiced that her real workforce development barrier is getting people into her apprenticeship program. And she explained that she had a couple classrooms closed down because she didn't have enough trained staff. So that conversation shifted gears, and we talked about pre-apprenticeships. She got United Township High School out of Rock Island involved in the conversation, and we developed a pre-apprenticeship program that guides a high school junior or senior through graduation and direct entry into that apprenticeship program. When we talked to the high school, she explained that there were some barriers. She felt that students that finished her early childhood education program on the high school level did not follow through with the career pathway. And she felt like a lot of that was due to that guidance and that mentorship that the instructors at the high school level were providing. And then there's this cost for this examination. So that credential is called Child Development Associate Certification, and it's a requirement entry level into the field. So we developed this pre-apprenticeship to overcome some of those barriers and make sure those students remained on that career pathway. You can go to the next slide. I put this pre-apprenticeship framework in here just so that the specialists could see. So I pulled this off of the Department of Labor's website for pre-apprenticeships, and it's completely customizable. I met with Nate. It's not really a regulated program. It truly is just a feeder program into that registered apprenticeship program. So I just stuck in some details. You can see the approved curriculum. You would always need one. Ours was United Township. They already had it. Credentials, one of them includes that certification with the $400 cost. Simulated experience is essentially the work-based learning. So how often will they be hands-on? Facilitated entry. This employer provided a letter of acceptance to the students. And so once they complete their credentials in this program, it's direct entry. And then supportive services was important to this because we identified those barriers. And one of those barriers was taking that examination. So this year we can use Apprenticeship Illinois. We have 2 pre-apprentices that we can assist with that. But this is a great opportunity for your WIA funding as well. And then sustainable partnerships. So this company will refer any students that did not participate in the pre-apprenticeship to Child Care Resource and Referral, which is has a whole list of different child care providers in the area. Go to the next slide. So these are some programs in development. The first one's in agriculture. They would like to expand their diesel tech registered apprenticeship programs to other areas. They currently have a very successful program with Parkland College in Champaign. This was another local area that actually gathered quite a few of us specialists in a room with this employer to try to figure out how we can expand into their other locations. So in terms of related training, they would like Blackhawk College. We're in that process, but unfortunately Blackhawk College does not have a diesel tech course. So they're reviewing that Appendix A to their automotive tech and ag tech, which highlights a strong relationship and how necessary that is. Scott Community College does have the program, so we can transfer there if we need to. The automotive dealership is in development. This is registered apprenticeship for auto tech. Right now, we're in development. They're looking at Universal Technical Institute, UTI, that's in the Chicago area for the first cohort. They would like for Blackhawk to work with them to develop the skills trainings that they need. It sounds very electrical is the need now. So I'm having conversations with Blackhawk. So this is related to ISB's college and career pathway endorsement. This local school has the automotive tech at the high school for this pathway endorsement program. So this business has already met with the high school. They're willing to be the work-based learning site for the career endorsement program. The high school's instructors working with the dealership to identify the most useful curriculum for the course. And then so LWIA 13 developed a pre-apprenticeship model that can enroll a high school student as they're going through that college and career pathway endorsement program, and hopefully direct entry into a registered apprenticeship program. They're expanding. So they're going to have 8 new lifts, which means 4 new tech positions, and they have some retirements coming up. So I think this will be a great program for the community. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So this is with the school district. So I really wanted to look at the educator registered apprenticeship programs, I know that communities, especially smaller communities, hire teachers that live outside of their school district. And then as soon as a school district within, closer to home for that teacher opens up, they leave that district and move. So I reached out to the superintendent. They currently have a college and career pathway endorsement in education. They have 2025 seniors identified as potential grow your own educators within the district. I introduced them to the idea of using McKendree University as the related training. And again, we developed a pre-apprenticeship program to have those graduates go through while they're getting their 60 hours complete before they can get into that registered apprenticeship program. Biggest roadblock, again, it tends to be financial. Most paraprofessionals in this district use Western Governors, and Western Governors University is cheaper per credit hour than McKendree University. But some benefits to doing a grow your own model for school districts, eliminating the concept of a first year teacher. So I wasn't aware that first year teachers have lower test scores for their students. Using McKendree, they'll complete all the administrative requirements related to the apprenticeship program, but they'll also complete the administrative requirements for the apprentice's licensing. And when I met with ISB, they explained to me that reduces the wait time and approval. And Grow Your Own naturally is a long-term pipeline to fill educator vacancies and again, keep our talent in our community. And then because I know this will be posted online, I stuck in the pre-apprenticeship framework in case anybody's interested in reviewing that. Go to the next slide. So this last program, I went ahead and added in, it's a pre-apprenticeship program. We used two funding sources. So JTED is the primary funding source here, and then me as the Apprenticeship Illinois Specialist. And so we partnered with Kewanee Life Skills Reentry in the city of Galva and created a building and construction trades work-based learning pre-apprenticeship program. There's a lot of detail on this if anybody wants to go back and look at it, but I think the most important part is the idea that we're providing skills, entry-level skills to individuals that may not have worked in quite some time. And we're going to provide that mentorship and case management to assist them to apply for and get into DOL registered apprenticeship programs in building and construction trades. We might do resume building. We may have to pay for an application for them, guide them through the application process. And under number 6, you can see all of the entities it took to build a program like this. And this is LWIA 13's business service team. It's proudly ever growing. We meet quarterly. We actually meet regionally with LWIA 4 every quarter. Every single person on this list I have access to if I need that, and they are all great partners. You can go to the next slide. And here are my other partners that are not included in the business services team. So from secondary education to our economic developers to governmental entities. Again, I can contact anybody on this list and they'll work through a program with me. Will you back up real quick, Nate? So on the right side corner, I have apprenticeship expansion support entities. Those 3 entities have special grants. I know the first 2 are through the Department of Labor. So SAPL Partners is specializes in IT apprenticeships, and they're a sponsor, and they will connect all the dots for you. And then again, that early childhood workforce connectors, I thought that might be helpful. Those on this call. Okay, you can advance. So funding innovations, I don't really think that I've been that innovative. We assist with the related training instruction, with costs related to on-the-job training. I think the most innovative we were was the first apprenticeship program that I talked about, where the agency was going to be the sponsor for other agencies, and they were going to be working with more low-income individuals. And so in our heads as a team, we thought about what would that barrier be? Like, what would stop somebody from entering that apprenticeship program or completing it? And we thought about laptops, and we felt that the sponsor could have laptops to loan out, revolve out to apprentices so that they can study when they're not working. And then supportive services, we do costs related to apprentice tools, and costs related to credential attainment. Challenges faced. So I put local economy. Our local area is blue collar, and our largest manufacturer has laid off a large amount of individuals in the last 12 months. Other manufacturers are feeders to this company, so it has affected our local economy. It's definitely affected workforce development. So I thought that was important to add in there. Financial resources for sustainable projects. I already mentioned one of the first questions from a business is, they're looking at the expense of implementing an apprenticeship program. So I think getting them to maybe, I'll give you an example, the automotive tech program. I had said the first cohort's going to go to UTI, which is about $53,000. But if we can get our community college to provide the curriculum needed for that apprenticeship program, it's going to slash that price and make it sustainable. So I think there's just some background work to be done there to make sustainable projects happen. The misconception of what it takes to implement a registered apprenticeship program. I know that personally from my first year, it was a little intimidating. I think businesses feel that. So not only is an apprenticeship, the word could be intimidating, but then we're handing them an Appendix A, and it's got all these competencies. So I just work really closely with the business. I connect them to the training providers, the Department of Labor. And then I also offer I'll stand by their side as they're implementing their program. I'm still there for support. In my local area, the lack of intermediary is in the 3-county it would be helpful if we had one, especially one that was acting as a sponsor. Related training instruction. So I would like to see, I've talked to the Department of Labor, and some of our areas are quite rural and there's transportation barriers. So if I put on my WIA hat, we know that rural communities have transportation barriers to get to the local community college. It could be an hour away. And I'd like to investigate what it would take for a business to be the related or provide the related training instruction on site. And I think that would go back to that sustainability. So time and capacity of a business. They're busy running businesses, and it can be difficult for them to get to the table, even if that benefit is clear to them and they know that they need the services or develop a workforce development program. I think I saw a comment. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so these are my effective approaches and future goals. The most effective approach I have is building relationships and building trust. I think it's the only way to be successful in the building an apprenticeship program, but also business services in general and what we do in general. You have to build relationships. Future goals. So I'm really intrigued with the college and career endorsement pathway. I would like to, dig a little deeper into that, learn a little more. I think it's going to benefit our communities as well as our youth graduating from high school. And since it's a state initiative, I believe focusing on supporting the development of pre-apprenticeship bridges into apprenticeships is worthwhile. And I think that in terms of a business, having that pre-apprenticeship prior gives them the chance to maybe extend an interview. So I'd like to work more on that. Related training instruction, I mentioned this before, but I'd like to figure out what it would look like for a business to hold the related training instruction on site.
Sarah, I want to thank you so much for presenting today. A question I had for you, because we've spoken about some of these partnerships, and you showed us that that great slide with all of the different partners necessary, and so many of the programs in progress you have, where there was 5, 6 different organizations supporting. Tell us about what was instrumental to you in building those partnerships, and what difficulties did you face in making those partnerships work towards apprenticeship?
Well, I'd say the benefit, especially if we back it up to that first early childhood education program where I was new. And so every time, like when I got on a call with the University of Illinois, Chicago, she's an expert in this. She's been doing it. She's developing these registered apprenticeship programs. So I think it was essential for me to just be on the phone and listening to her educate me. And I find that with the majority of my partners is I'm constantly just learning. I'm absorbing as much as I can from them. Because as workforce development professionals, we have to take all of this information, not just under the WIA umbrella, and see how that might fit with our businesses for our local economy. Challenges. It can be challenging. So I had mentioned that I like to take the lead. So mainly, Nate, so I know it's all getting done. So if I'm in the lead, that might be controlling. But if I'm in the lead, then I know like what the follow-up steps are and can check base. So I think if you have too many chiefs, that can be difficult. But overall, they were great partnerships, and I would still recommend using them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Excellent presentation today. So much exciting stuff happening in Rock Island. And we're excited to see all those programs in development and more to come.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Jordan.
Yep. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat while I kind of wrap up. But again, this will be posted online on Apprenticeship Illinois for you or any of your colleagues to view later, along with the slide deck, in case you want to kind of look at some of those details for like the pre-apprenticeship or other things that Sarah shared. As we wrap up, there will be a survey when you close out the window, so very much appreciate any feedback that you have on today's session. Otherwise, if there's no other questions, we can wrap up, and we will see you at the next Lunch and Learn session. Thanks again, Sarah and Nate, for your help and for presenting today. And with that, I'll give everyone the next 20 minutes before 1 o'clock. So have a great afternoon, you all.
You too.